Welcome to the last judge presentation for the legal challenge, and today we are talking with Gregor aus Berlin. Wie geht es du, liebe Gregor?
Danke, Sergej. Es geht mir sehr gut in Berlin. Es schneit, wir haben Schnee, Snow,
Same here, absolutely. Yes. What's an Easter if it's not snowing? So yeah, sure.
Exactly.
So you're based in Berlin and you work at Taylor Wessing, which let's dig a little bit there. So how big is Taylor Wessing in Germany in terms of headcount? I would guess 300.
Yeah, I keep forgetting. I think it's somewhere between 350 and 400 lawyers. Mm-hmm. So about 1,000 people working for the firm in Germany, but it's about 370 lawyers maybe.
Okay, and that's spread across Hamburg, Berlin, and somewhere else. Many.
It's Hamburg, Berlin, Munich, Frankfurt, and Düsseldorf. But yeah.
Okay. So, are you considered to be a small firm or a big firm for Germany at the count of 300?
Very small. No, we're kind of a biggish. We're not huge, but I think we're one of the 10 biggest firms in Germany, and but probably the biggest tech law firm in Germany, the biggest tech department, I guess, of any big firm.
Okay, it's like I'm really enjoying those conversations because you talk to someone who has a headcount of 3, then you talk to someone who has headcount of 30, then who's got 300, and then I talk to a lawyer and he says my firm has 2,500 lawyers. So that's like all different kind of shapes and sizes, and depending on the country, you can be huge at 300, or you can be tiny, a little boutique.
Yeah.
And globally, like Taylor Wessing is not only German, or did you start as a German firm?
It started, many years before I joined. I think it's the oldest part of the UK firm is, I think, 18th century, something like that. Even older than I am. So but Taylor is a UK firm, and Wessing was a German firm. So they merged in 2002, I think, and that was the kind of the beginning, and then the French also joined in. Then a huge amount of firms in CEE joined, Austria, Slovakia, Hungary, and so on, and then other firms in Middle East joined, and Asia, and also a big. And we've got 2 offices in Shanghai and Beijing, so in China. So that's also part of the firm. And we have a rep office, which is kind of something, not a real law firm, but there are lawyers there in New York and mainly in Silicon Valley.
Okay, that's probably a good job. I don't know, maybe stressful, but
it's good. It's good to drop in and meet people there and go for Starbucks.
I think working, come on, Starbucks. Like working for the rep of a European law firm in New York, probably lots of sushi lunches. You get to pick your lunch spot, and if you're smart enough, you take a huge lunch, so you skip on dinner, and then you're all set. I mean, I can take the job any day. But all right, so I kind of understand where you're coming from. In terms of your orientation, you said technology firm. So let's take games. So do you also guys handle, let's say, film and television and advertising, or do you mostly handle games and technology, data, software, mergers and everything? And I understand also that you're handling everything in terms of dispute resolution, licensing, everything.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and I thought about it when we spoke, and I think it really changed a little over time because we did do huge amounts of film. I did a lot of film production, financing, distribution, everything, and then it kind of just you just noticed that film work was just getting less because it's all very standardized in film. I quite love film, but it's very standardized, and then I was at another English firm before I joined, and what I want to say is that it used to be a lot of film, and it was always big on tech like IT. And then just the film and other content work just got less. And I think it was I must be been pretty early, like 2004 or 2005, when we started doing games work. That was probably pretty early days. And so it really was like that. Film became less, games just much more. Mm-hmm. And the rest is kind of, you know how it developed.
Yeah.
And now I think it's just huge, much more games and tech. I think tech, games, and film is just like it's like we say Liebhaberei. It's just like we like it, but it's not part. Yeah. It's not main part of our business.
I spoke earlier to a few lawyers this week who mentioned that they recently went on a deal with an ex-film lawyer, and that film lawyer said, "Oh, games, you're like kids," because in the financing agreements for films, where this person is entitled to a share of this, but without this, but with this, and it can be audited this way, but not that way. That's real stuff. So I wanted to ask you if it's true that licensing or production agreements for films are really much more complicated, or you feel it's more or less the same.
No, I don't agree. It's certainly different, and I know these 20, 30, 50, 40, 50 pages, so-called waterfall, how you distribute revenues. And we always used to say that's just to hide the fact that nobody's getting any money apart from the production company. And that's kind of, and people are, oh, what's up? And you get the SAG, and other guild deductions in the US agreements. Then you get the collecting agents. I mean, I have to say, the film financing is quite complex and quite interesting because it's quite sophisticated. But I think games can even be more complex because it can be much more varied. It can have much more different, can come in very different ways. If I think, for example, if you talk about a mobile game, it's very different to another game. And so, no, I don't agree at all. It's certainly, you look at different things. Maybe you need to look, maybe it's less standardized in some parts. No, I wouldn't say clearly. I mean, why would any lawyer say this is easy what we're doing? It's very complex. It's very complex.
I quite often I come across people who are not practicing in games industry, and typically either it would be something like the Pharma merger deals are this, and you guys have deals like this, so when you grow to be like this, we will come to you. And I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't. Yeah. I don't know.
But the interesting thing is, we've also been doing some of the, M&A kind of work in games, and it's it's very, very, very much the same as any other M&A deal. So it's just as complex. And the M&A lawyers really need to understand how it works. So they need to understand the specific risks and the specific, what's usual in the industry. So to understand more about the deal. So
you mentioned earlier that you're teaching. Where exactly? Is this something recent? Is this something you just started, or is this something you've been involved over some time? And in general, in Germany, we have this understanding. I'll give an example. Totally random thing. I was looking for the international chocolate competitions and who wins them, and I was trying to trace small companies that produce interesting chocolates, like fine chocolates these days. So I found some Finnish company that wins a lot of competitions, and they produce chocolate with pine needles and cloudberries and sea buckthorn. So really local stuff. And then I found a Sicilian company that produces with Sicilian almonds and Sicilian oranges and Sicilian everything and so on. Also
nice.
Sea salt. So, and of course, one only is in Italian, one is only in Finnish. No problems. I send them an email and I say, hello, I'm based in Vilnius, Lithuania. Can I order a little package from you guys? Because I'm so excited. And the Finnish company says, nah, it's too far. No, just Finland. And the Sicilian company says, sure, Send us the list. We put it on the scales, see how heavy it is, call UPS. They give us the value of the shipping. And then you send us the money, then we ship. Let's do it. So to me, that's about survival, motivation, willingness to go the extra mile. So when you, first of all, talk about your education in a second, do you feel the German law students are more like the Finnish guys or like Sicilian guys? Because it's a well-established economy. So do you really need to go into the games industry, or you can be a lawyer for one of the, any big German company? Just go and be a lawyer for Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche, Siemens. I don't know.
I think that I teach, but we have a lot of trainees which we have regularly, and the guys and the students we get are super interesting. They're super interested. They go the super extra mile. They are fascinated by what they do, but I think it's got a lot to do with what we do. Because it's tech and IT and IP, data protection and games attracts kind of, I think, a special breed of people. It's if you just want to be, if you just want to be the huge M&A lawyer and get your Porsche as quick as possible, you don't do what we do, because we have strange problems. We discuss about the legal nature of digital items. Is it a good? Is it it's we have these very strange discussions which when you explain to a M&A lawyer, they say, what on earth are you doing there, guys? And we keep discussing and going back and forth. And so I think you really have to like what we do, and you really have to like the special topic. And I don't think someone who's not somehow especially interested would apply to our firm or come here. And so also the students I teach are usually super interested in what they do. So I think that I couldn't really make the distinction. I think comparing maybe an Italian lawyer to a German lawyer, maybe the Italian guy is a bit louder and funnier. The German is maybe a bit, when they need some more drinks before they get loud, maybe. But otherwise, I think it's very similar.
So your students are coming from different countries. It's a mix.
Yeah, I teach at Humboldt University, and we have mainly Germans, but some of them are Spanish, some of them are from other countries. I also taught in Munich, and they were more or less from everywhere. And I'm now teaching in Alicante, but I haven't started yet, so I will see. So in Spain, but generally, I think IP lawyers it's a very international breed. So when I speak to a UK copyright lawyer, we speak similar language to a Spanish copyright lawyer or Ukrainian copyright lawyer, or so it's quite a lingua franca, or there's a very common understanding, which is fascinating.
Which is one of the best things about the games industry in general. That's the
I guess, yeah.
It's very hard to be a local games lawyer, because if the game is successful, it's going to go global. You'll have to deal with the Japanese legislation. You'll have to, figure out how to pay those special Japanese taxes. And then what do you do with China? What do you do in Russia? How do you avoid, offending Ukrainians and here and there? Yeah, sure, great. In your experience, what is the best quality and the worst quality of an in-house lawyer who is working with you on a project? Because I believe you're exposed to a bunch of in-house counsels, and as an in-house counsel, as a law firm lawyer, you put your reputation on the line. If you're I'm trying to find a polite word, if you're not good, people just stop calling you after some time.
Yeah.
And as an in-house lawyer, I believe you can survive for a few years. And, to everyone in-house, you're still the person who knows the most about law. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I have no stats to back it up, but I believe that there could be some strange in-house lawyers who are not really having a reality check because they haven't been sued, they haven't had problems, and then when the war begins, then you will know. So in your experience, what is the best quality of an in-house counsel who comes to you, and the worst?
I think that's a super difficult question, but I think from the top of my head, the best in-house lawyers I meet are are very good on the facts. So they know very good what they're doing. And ideally, but that's not so necessary. They ask you a very precise questions. The best emails I get from some in-house counsel is they get an email, they set out the facts, they tell me what they think, or they tell me the question, and they tell me the assignment to the lawyer, which is like perfect. Sometimes you have to give a budget, you have to give an estimate, and that makes it, of course, much easier to give an estimate and to give you a precise, answer, timing, and so on. That's like ideal. But if you don't get that, you can just ask for it. But I don't really have any bad in-house lawyers experience. No, but what's sometimes a bit challenging is when everything is still open. The lawyer says do something, and nobody really knows what the commercial purpose is, or so you understand why they give it out, but they haven't really thought it through, and they don't really kind of let's say, put it this way, they don't really they actually it's somewhere in the middle. It's still a work in progress, which is okay. Just needs some more going back and forth. It's not really bad. It's just different. You just have to be aware that sometimes you need to do more asking and to try to get to the facts, because that's my experience. Maybe after all these years of being a lawyer, that the law is important, but the facts are much more important, because if you work on the wrong facts, you get it all wrong.
I went to a restaurant with a game designer, and he was the most specific person I've seen in the restaurant. He came in and we said we'd like to have some breakfast, just like no meat. And my colleague from a different studio, he was like, I'd like to get some breakfast, no meat, no gluten, no sugar. I'm allergic to milk. I don't like hot dishes. And the woman looked at him and she said, like, I can cut you some tomatoes for a salad. And he was like, yeah, but I don't do olive oil. So yeah, just some water. And I was like, well, that guy is very easy, because he just tells you your menu, throw it out. So that's it. Nothing can help you. Yeah. So
that's good.
The legal challenge teams are coming this year from, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 5 different countries, maybe more. We have a team out of Poland, and traditionally Poland performs strongly, even before Rafael set up this Games Academy in Warsaw. So last year they made it to the finals, and this year they're in the semifinals. We have a team out of Serbia, Belgrade. So I have different experiences. I have some friends in Belgrade, and I love some parts of the city. I hate some parts of the city. So you can see that it's a very turbulent mix, and I believe that it's a good environment to get your stuff together. And if you can be a lawyer in this environment, then this is great. We have a team out of the UK, purely UK. Then we have a team out of UK, France, and Spain. So that's the full international flavor of the games industry. So what do you think would be your advice to them, as they all would like to get involved in the games industry, and some are already working in some capacity on the games industry matters? What do you think makes people succeed in the games industry as lawyers, and what maybe prevents them from succeeding? Like in your experience, if you're hiring someone for your team, what would you look for in a young lawyer?
It really depends. Sometimes we meet people through other people, and that's always a fantastic experience. If or a fantastic recommendation. So if you have someone like you, if you tell me, take a look at this guy or this what's a female word for guy?
Gal.
Gal, yeah, a woman, a man, and that's that's obviously the best recommendation you can get. A recommendation from someone else, I think, is the gold standard, because that would mean, let's put it this way: if I get a recommendation from you or someone else I know well, it would mean A, he or she must be an ace lawyer, but B, she's probably a nice person too, because that kind of is very important. That's not a very good recommendation how to succeed. Get recommended by Sergey. Not everybody can get that. But no, but I mean is, of course, you need to really try to get into the industry, get to know people, and then sometimes things lead to each other. One thing leads to another. If you go to a moot court at universities, and someone else will say, "Come on, join this moot court." You really have to get into it. You really have to. You have to read the magazines. You have to read the websites. We have, subscribe to the newsletters, and then names and things will start recurring. And then, of course, you need to master the law. Although, as you said, I mean, there are different approaches to the law. You can come from a IP background, you can come from a data protection background, you can come from a pure tech IT background, you can have even a corporate background, and still be successful in the games industry. I think what you cannot do is you cannot approach games law very legally. You have to come to it from a very you have to understand how the game is kind of developed, how it's exploited, how the games kind of the industry works. The game, I don't know if that gives you an idea. Is that an answer?
I think one of the best chain of events that I saw during the judge presentation videos was that Sean Kane was telling us about how he started, and when he started, it was like. He decided consciously to be a games industry lawyer, so he started writing articles and traveling to the shows, not having a single client at the time, but just investing lots of his time and attention into becoming a part of the industry. And then when I was doing the presentation with Vlad from Dentons, he was like, well, I got to the games industry because I was reading a lot of different articles, interesting, especially from Sean Kane. I was like, okay, great. And then Vlad, what do you do? And he's teaching at the university for many, many years, luckily. And now there is a law firm which is specializing in the games industry, made out of his ex-students. So you can see like Sean writing articles that inspired Vlad, who went to teach, and his students are now in the games industry because they were taught by Vlad, who was excited by Sean, who at some point decided to invest his time into writing stuff. That's what perfectly illustrates what you said when things come around. Like, you have just to do something. You cannot sit and wish, I wish I was doing games law. No, I just like do little something. Do this, do that, to work on some project and so on. I mean, great. So as a judge, I have to ask you, and the teams will watch this video, or maybe they'll just skip to the end to this question. As a judge, what are you looking for in the teams? Are you the sort of judge who will interrupt people when they talk, or do you wait patiently until they walk into the trap and then you ask the question? Like, how do you? What should the teams expect from you in the courtroom?
Shall I say this? Okay.
Up to you if you want to be honest or not. I don't
know. Well, first I listen because I think it's very important. They have the stage, so what do they make of it? Do they convince me? So the first I want, and I'm not looking for the right answer. I mean, that's probably a very cliche answer, because we say there's no right answer. It just needs to be a good argument. But in a way, it's true. It's I've from the pleadings I read, from the submissions I read, some of them have a very different outcome to what I would have done, but I liked it because it was convincing. They used the facts in a way which I say, okay, I understood them differently, but it's a well-structured argument. So if it's nicely done, and if it's building upon each other, and if it's also diligently done, it can be super convincing. So first, I would look at the people. What do they make of the stage? Then I probably would. I think. I don't know if the opportunity arises, but then sometimes asking a question in between, trying to confuse someone, even trying to challenge someone, is not necessarily because I disagree, but because I want to see how persons react. If they are challenged. I mean, that's a very real situation in court, or even if you talk to a client, the client may say, "Well, what's this nonsense? Why are you telling me this?" Of course, then you need to be prepared to say, "I know it may sound stupid, but listen to this. Well, that's how I thought." And then you need to, really make your case. And I think that's very impressive. Sometimes you speak to students and then you say, why did you write this here. And then the students are totally confused and say, oh, it's a mistake. I'm sorry. And then you say, no, it's not a mistake. I was just asking. And then some others say, try to convince you. And I always like that, if they stand their ground and tell you why they thought so. And so that's one point. And secondly, I try to be very precise on the facts. So some people, you can see it in submissions. Sometimes if I think you need to be super strong on the facts. If you start thinking or getting facts wrong, somehow the best legal argument will not convince me. So that's kind of my approach. And then I just really like the interaction with the.
Is there any? Do you think there's anything special? The final thing I want to ask is there anything special that the students should keep in mind, or the competitors? I keep saying students, but some of them are no longer students. That they should keep in mind because of the hearing being digital. Is there any problem that you see when you're having this online courtroom? I mean, in the real life, anything that is more important, less important?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because we ask this ourselves as well. Of course, I think it's on balance is much more. It's more difficult because you cannot read the room. As a lawyer, it's very important to go into the room, try to feel how is this room working. Where's this guy looking? Where's this other person looking? What's happening? Do people interact? And somehow that's kind of sometimes it's a bit makes you nervous if you plead, but it's also very important, because then you can sometimes, if you see someone, let's assume someone is falling asleep, you can say, oh, maybe I should speak a bit louder. No, but in the way it's easier because you can control very much who's speaking, and then so it's very clear. There's not so many interruptions and so on. But I think it's quite important to speak clearly and a bit, maybe a bit slower, because the connection can be bad, and you need to it's a problem that you don't really see the immediate reaction. I think that's even getting on my nerves. I do a lot of webinars and I speak, I turn the pages, I have no idea what people are thinking. Maybe they've all fallen asleep. I'm talking. But so trying at least to get a feedback. Maybe ask, was I clear? Is there anything I should repeat? Something like that, maybe.
I think I think that's a good advice, because I just thought that we'll have up to 8, 10 people on the screen. How do you keep track of all of them? So one option is to hide those who do not currently present, but not the best option. You may want to keep looking at the other team as your colleague presents and see, okay, they're smiling, they know something. So how do you combine this fact that you have to keep your face straight and present, and at the same time look at the screen and see, that's a whole new challenge. Yeah.
But maybe one thing, Sergey, I think, we all agree, we'd all, of course, much prefer being there, with everyone, having a drink, having coffee, seeing each other, of course. But I think we really need to take this as a chance, because this, we at least as a law firm, we are convinced that a certain amount of this will just stay completely digital. We're not going to go back to normal and travel all the time by plane, also for obvious reasons. So we're the first ones to make that experience. So it's actually we should really make that, and we should really learn from it. For us, it's all pretty new.
For us, it's been the same. I would never. We thought about streaming some of the previous challenges, and then we said, you want to know the real thing. Who's gonna watch a challenge and come on? But now we set up the YouTube channel, and this video will be there, and the semifinals will be live streamed, and then it'll be recorded, so you can actually go back and take a look at that. And I would have loved to go back 3 years in time and see how did those legal challenges sound, because some of those people now work in the game studios that we interact with. So you can say, hey, I saw your finals, you were very emotional, good to see you, or something. I think it's really pushing a lot of companies to cut the unnecessary travel and spending the day or 2 days traveling just for 4 hours of interaction when you can handle it online. Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much. We'll see you in a couple of weeks at the actual hearings. So may the strongest team win, and hopefully I'll see you in September in Vilnius. I would say we're next close to 30% of the attendees being vaccinated by now. So I know Germany is not the best hope.
We are reviewing reviewing everything in very, very closely, and we're very critical, and so we are very slow.
But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, maybe lots of Germans go to Spain for vacation during the summer, and the rest of the Germans can go and get vaccinated while there's no queue. So then these guys come back from vacation. They have natural immunity, so no problem. We'll see. All right.
But you did it well. You moved the conference very early, which was very smart. You were one of the first ones to be forward looking, so it was good.
It's a roller coaster, the first wave, the second wave, the third wave, maybe it'll be a fourth. I don't know. We'll like everyone, we're discovering new things about our government, other countries' government. It's a great experience. Okay, thank you very much, Gregor, and
thanks, Sergey. We're looking very much forward to come to Vilnius and do the panel.
Thank you. And now on the screen, you guys can see all the wonderful law firms and games companies that help us run the summit and run the challenge. We'll see you in the next videos, which will be already about the actual semifinals.